I want to talk a little bit about Contreras because this is a really good example for a lot of good athletes. Obviously, a guy that can hit is going to have way more potential to do whatever they can do, and have the ability to improve their defense and get opportunity. He hits because he's a good athlete. He's a little bit of a longer player, and that's kind of sometimes a struggle for catchers, being kind of longer. And that's what I always noticed with him early on in his career. Seemed like everything was away from him, like a little bit too out in front, and then started to kind of regain a little bit of that feel of letting it get a little closer and stronger positions. And that happened kind of when you got in there. Obviously, his numbers in 2020 was he's like 48th in receiving, and he came in the next year and he was like, or 2019, and then next year when you got in there, he went up to like 7th. So tell me a little bit about what that process was in terms of helping him kind of gain that feel.
I mean, I think for Willie, part of it was like just owning like who he was and like getting comfortable with, he has so many skills but they're not necessarily the same skills as anybody else. And I think he was a guy that people constantly tried to like have him catch like other people, rather than like just catch like yourself and figure out what works for you. So I know like when I first got there, I went down to Orlando and like spent some time with him. And he like was like, what I really want to do is like get back to my fundamentals, where when I started to catch. And so, I mean, at first, honestly, like I was a little nervous about this whole thing because like I'm going like, I'm thinking like going in like this might have to be like a one knee overhaul. And it actually ended up being the opposite. It's like he was like, I'm going to catch on 2 feet more. I want to do this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, let me go look at the numbers. And so I went and I talked to our R&D guys, and they were like, and I was like, can you run the numbers on like by setup? And they actually, it turned out that he traditionally had done much better on 2 feet than he had on one knee. And I think for him, it allowed him to like kind of get his face and his torso like into play more. When he set up on one knee, he tended to get more upright and further away from home plate. And for him, it's like he's like you said, like the levers are a little longer, so like he can physically catch the ball. But when you push your chest away and utilize the longer levers more, you run out of leverage a little bit quicker. So by getting him, closer to the plate with his face and his chest, you saw him not have to reach as much. So then he could let the ball get deeper. He could, take more time, like evaluating where the pitch is going and what's the shape going to be and what's the velocity, which is, all the stuff that's going on in our head while the pitch is being thrown. But it allowed him to not feel like, oh man, I got to go get this thing because I'm going to run out of arm. He felt like he was closer to it, so he had more arm to work with. And then as a result, you see him play the game a lot closer to him. And that's part of the reason I think a lot of his numbers trended up is because of that.